What are you looking for? Plenty of fists? Well, you found it. Plenty of Fists Radio.
Hey, welcome back to Plenty of Fists MMA Radio. I am your host, Jake Hirsch. We are in conversation with Real Fight Stories editor Mike Russell. And as I said before the break, we were going to be hoping to get Mr. Cody McKenzie on, and he joins us now. Cody, how are you?
I'm good. I'm real good.
Good, man. Thanks for joining us on the show. It's a real pleasure talking to you. Hey, so much has happened in this last little while. Can I ask, how are things since this World Series of Fighting appearance? And are you currently still on suspension right now?
Yeah, I'm still suspended. I've been fighting real hard trying to get him suspended, but it just hasn't been working too well. I went through all the necessary steps and wrote him a nice long letter and trying to do what I can to get these guys' attention to just have them watch the video and see it through my eyes, you know?
Right.
Because, I mean, in my eyes, I've been real mistreated, you know? I mean, I don't feel that what happened is very fair at all. So, I mean, it's good. I'm employed at least. I've been roofing a lot, but, I mean, roofing's not my job. I'm a professional fighter, you know?
Right.
I mean,
right.
I tried to retire for a little bit, but then I got the call for the World Series of Fighting, and I went in and fought the fight on no notice, and, I mean, 8 days notice, and I felt good, and, I mean, it reminded me of why I like to fight, and now I'm getting back into it, and going to start training full-time and hit hard, but I've had 2 fights lined up since the suspension, but they both fell while I was under suspension, so I haven't been able to fight them, and, yeah, I'm just missing out on money and can't make my bills, so.
Yeah, that can be pretty tough.
But,
yeah, especially if you're missing out on fight, good paydays there.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, it's when you live fight to fight, you know, it's definitely not very fun to get suspended because, this is how I make my money, and I was going to get away from it, but, I mean, this is what I've done forever. I don't know. I am what I am, you know?
Right.
I think it's worth noting, too, Cody mentioned to me, tell him what happened with your purse from World Series, Cody.
What's that?
Tell Jake the story. I never filled him in on what actually happened with your envelope of money you got from World Series Fighting.
Oh, yeah. What I did make in my fight, I brought home and laid on my kitchen table, and yeah, somebody stole it.
Oh,
somebody
my God,
came to
that's
my house
brutal.
and straight robbed every last dollar I owned.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yeah, so the times have definitely been better, but I mean, I'm still smiling. I'm doing good. I got good people around me, and I'm employed, so at least that's nice, but it's definitely been hard making my bills.
That must be tough, man.
These
yeah.
fights is fights is what gets me through, you know? So, I mean, like I said, I've already missed, I mean, the commission, I feel, knows that I had a fight coming up March 27th, and that's why they suspended me from that one. And, I just don't feel like it was fair. I mean, I hustled all the way through, not just the money getting stolen from my house from a whole different situation, but even while I was in Canada and fighting in Edmonton, I mean, these guys, I feel like they hustled me, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that fight, Cody, because I know, there's been a lot of, stories back and forth as to what's going on. And so I think if we kind of clear up some of that stuff, I think it would be great. So you were signed to fight Andrew McInnes, and what was all how did all the trash talk stuff start happening before the fight? Like, when did all that stuff come into play?
Well, I mean, I didn't expect there to be any trash talking, you know? I mean, I took a fight on 8 days' notice and doing this guy a favor who just trained for 3 months, you know? And, I mean, they called me last-minute notice, and I thought it was weird, but, I mean, a lot of people know I haven't been doing good in the fight game, you know, and they also know that I retired, so I think they were planning for an easy fight. I mean, they were planning on, pretty much when they called me, that's how it sounded all the way through. They were like, oh, yeah, he'll fight you even at 70, and, like, And then I was expecting, they're like, he's small though, you know, and
Right.
I get there and I mean, he looks like a normal 70, big 55er, you know, and he's in good shape. And I'm like, oh yeah, like this guy hasn't been training. Like,
Right.
he ain't going to pull the wool over my eyes. I've been doing this a while, you know, but it was whatever. I mean, of course I'm still going to fight, but I was expecting some respect out of this issue, you know, that I'm doing them a favor, coming in and giving him a fight when
Right.
it's on national TV and I'm doing it fat and out of shape as can be.
Right.
And so I get there, and instead of like them thanking me for taking the fight, they just start harassing me and calling me a bum and a junkie and an alcoholic, and I mean just really insulting me, like to the point where I mean it was like about to go down backstage. I mean they pushed me at one time even. I didn't lay hands on them at all. One of their cornermen even pushed me. It's like, come on, like and no commissioners were jumping in and separating us or telling them to knock it off or telling me to knock it off. I was yelling back, you know, and it's like, where's the control of this show, you know? What are all these, like, commissioners getting paid to do? Like why am I even standing right next to this kid right now? This is ridiculous. You
Right,
know? Like,
and this all happened behind the scenes then, right? At the World Series of Fighting.
Yeah. This was all at weigh-ins, like when we showed up to weigh-ins. I mean, they started calling me every name in the book, calling me, I mean, terrible stuff like that you don't say to people unless you expect to fight. And I mean, I did lose it a little bit back there and tell them that I was ready to fight back there, you know. I mean, when somebody talks to you like that, especially as a fighter,
right.
I mean, it's BS, you know. I mean, most fighters don't do that. I mean, I've had 35 fights about, and I've never had an opponent talk like that to me ever, you know. Most of us are respectful people, but yeah, these guys, I mean, they play a different game, but I mean, and it's like, just don't say anything, you know. If you don't like the guy, like, you don't need to say anything. But I mean, he was all over the media saying stuff and all over. Yeah, he just likes running his mouth. But either way, it's like, all right, well, we're gonna fight then. So I mean, we end up getting into the cage, and then he wants to be my friend. He's giving me a little head nod while he's running around the cage, like what? Like, now you don't want to. Now he's not trying to act tough, you know.
Right.
So I mean, I already knew I had him right then. I was like, oh, I'm gonna beat this kid, you know.
Right.
And so the fight starts, and I was beating him. I mean, I was a step ahead, and I was still out of shape. I was just relaxing, and he was blowing all of his energy and spazzing out and jumping on moves that weren't there. So, I mean, I was going to end up getting him, you know.
Right.
And I could tell he was fading. I could feel him wearing out, and he was fighting dirty the whole time. I mean, he was headbutting on me, and I've been headbutted a lot in fights, you know. I don't complain about him, though. I mean, that's fighting. It's like, all right, you want to headbutt me? I'm going to cheap shot you back sooner or later, you know?
Right.
And yeah, the ref wasn't warning him. I mean, it's hometown ref, hometown everything. I went up there by myself, and because my main training partners, they can't get up and can't go over old issues, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I just felt like it was everybody against me, and all of a sudden it turned into a street fight, and I wasn't going to keep getting dirty shotted. So at the end of the first round, I threw a little tiny headbutt. It wasn't even very hard. I mean, I didn't really mean to do it as much as it was a split, but I kind of drove in once I was falling because I was like, oh, whatever, you know, this guy's already been headbutting me and he just pulled my hair. So, I mean, I might as well give him a little bit of a dirty head position too. I mean, to me, it wasn't even a headbutt. It was like I was jumping in, getting head position, and it just kind of butted head. But all of a sudden, like, next thing I know, they're DQing me, suspending me, taking my money. I'm like, what? I'm like, this guy is fighting dirty the whole time, you know? I'm like, where's my justice? Like, why didn't you guys stop and disqualify him, you know? I mean, he faked his way out, you know? I mean, he played the card. I mean, any real fighter knows. They can all watch it and see. I mean, he's on camera with his eyes closed, and they're like, can you see? And he's like, I can't see. And it's like, then open your eyes. I'm like, dude, like, it's not even swollen up or anything. Like, they were trying to tell me I, like, broke his face. I'm like, I barely hit him. Watch the video, watch the fight.
Like, well, because, like, obviously Andrew got a lot of backlash, right, with that. Like, obviously, you know, even on social media, a lot of people were saying that that he underestimated you, that he got into the cage with you, things didn't go his way, and he took the easy out. With that being said,
and that's,
like, were there any verbal warnings by the referee to either one of you before this infraction?
Not that I heard towards him, you know. I mean, I didn't hear. Yeah, I mean, he was cheap shotting me left and right. So I mean, I didn't hear anything. I felt like I was by myself, and I felt like it was a real fight at this point, you know, like I'm not going to keep getting dirty shotted and my hair pulled when, I mean, it's a fight. Like, we're both locked in there. It's not like we're playing croquet and I ran up and threw a headbutt out of nowhere. Right. I mean, we're fighting each other, and he's getting me with dirty shots, and I throw one, and all of a sudden I'm just the bad guy, you know. And a lot of people have seen it my way. You know, I've got a lot of respect for people like Ryan being like, you know, that was BS. Like, a lot of fighters, you know, because fighters can see it. We've been in there before. We know how it is. But yeah, these commissioners just don't. I mean, to me, I got hustled. Like, they had the plan. The ref had a plan. The commissioner had a plan. I mean, they're all friends with McKenzie, so I mean, they had the plan to get me. You know, they're like, all right, we're gonna call Cody on short notice because you know he'll take the fight. So we'll call him on short notice, get him real out of shape, and then fight him. And if you can't beat him, do a few dirty moves. He'll dirty move you back, and we'll DQ him. like they had it all planned out. You know.
Do you feel like that though?
In my head, not literally.
Yeah.
Well, I really do, 100%. I mean, that's, if you watch close enough and see how it all went down. I mean, that's how it all went down. I mean, to me, it's too bad that, I mean, this commissioner guy, I'm reading, people are sending me stuff. A lot of fans are sending me stuff on how this commissioner is just a bigot and how he hates Americans. And I mean, I got this one post that he posted on his Facebook the other day, like, oh, it'd be fun to try to label Americans South gun token rednecks and North gun token rednecks. And,
right.
And
I saw that.
Middle gun rednecks. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. Like, it's like, what? This guy already doesn't like Americans, especially gun token redneck Americans, obviously, which I am.
Right.
And damn proud of it, you know? Like, I am what I am. I grew up in Alaska, hunting, fishing, trapping. Yeah, I like my guns. I like hunting. I like running around the woods. I mean, I don't see a sin in that, you know? No, like I'm not robbing people at gunpoint.
Yeah, Mike and I, you know, were even talking before. Mike had mentioned before that, and I took the test. Mike had basically said, listen, if you Google Cody McKenzie's name, 9 to 10 times you're going to get some bad negative stuff come up. And I did that. I did that during the commercial break, and there's a lot of stuff that has been written about you, I mean, one of the first headlines I saw, you know, Dana White is embarrassed by Cody McKenzie shorts, or Cody McKenzie. I read one a little while ago. Some journalist or something like that.
It is. It's terrible, and it breaks me up inside. You know, it's like, really, like, this is what people are going to write about. Not all the fighters that I've helped, and all the guys who have come up and training with me, you know, and all the people I've been doing this a very long time, you know, and I work very hard at what I do. I mean, I'll admit that I've had bad times in my life, you know, but I don't feel that gives these people a right to talk to me like that. When, I mean, how about the fact that I've never taken a fight or never turned a fight down, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you don't read that story. You don't read the story about, I mean, I'll take these fights. Yeah, I've lost fights out of shape, and you can tell I'm out of shape, but how about the fact that, I mean, I broke my foot and fought, or I tore my back out and still jumped in there. Like, I mean, but I also don't complain about it, you know, because I don't want any excuses. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, sometimes I am out of shape. This is the fight game, you know, and most of the time I'm working jobs to pay my bills to get by, and still going out there and doing this on short notice a lot of times. Like, I mean, even UFC, they never gave me no fair shake, you know. They were hitting me up like a month notice, like, oh, you fight this guy. It's like, I'm sure he got 3 months notice, you know, but I was just the easy go-to guy when they couldn't find a fight.
Yeah.
They'd never find fights for me. I'd always have to beg for them, you know, and then once in a while I'd get them. But, I mean, I put up with her for 5 years, and, I mean, really, I don't feel I got fired from the UFC because I lost the Sam Snow fight. It was more the fact that I was, like, telling them, I'm like, yeah, you guys need to fight me, you know, or let me go. I mean, I was pretty much letting them know.
Wow.
And yeah, they never even let me know that I was fired. I called them 3 months after my fight and told them I needed another fight. And they were like, oh, we released you. I'm like, what? Like, thanks for the heads up. I appreciate it, you know. They didn't even let me know. Joe Silva, I had to call him and ask him for a fight, and then he told me I was fired. I was like, why didn't you call? They're like, oh, we tried to get a hold of you. I was like, no, you didn't.
That is
like, you never had a problem getting a hold of me when you wanted me to fight.
Yeah, I mean, tweet me, Facebook me, something, man. I'm sure there's a way to reach out. You know what I mean?
I'm not that hard to get a hold of. You know, I always have my phone on me, but it's just, But yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the sport needs more bad guys, you know, because most guys are just real proper. And I'm not a bad guy, though. I mean, I might party a little, whatever, you know, but I mean, I live a pretty normal life. Like, I work hard. I'm a commercial fisherman and a roofer, and I work for my money. I've never stolen anything. I've never beat somebody up who didn't deserve it, you know. Like, I'm a nice guy overall, and yeah, I stick up for myself. That's like why everybody gives me this hard time. Like, one of the things that they wrote a story on me was how I hit some girl. I'm like, what? I've never hit a girl in my entire life. My mother and father taught me better than that, you know, like never in my life. And
yeah, I remember. I think there was one here from Adam Hill, and it's LVRJ, which I'm guessing, Mike, is what, the Las Vegas Review-Journal?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah,
okay.
Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Right, and this guy tweeted, it only got worse for Cody after the fight. He downed a couple of shots and then had 2 beers, but kind of spit one up on himself in a tunnel below the arena. Then tried to take beer outside to have a smoke, but wasn't allowed. Said it was probably for the best as he dribbled blood all over.
That's objective reporting.
Yeah,
it's like he followed him around after the fight. Yeah.
Like who is this guy, like, writing this type of stuff out that you know, he's reporting on someone after the fight at an after party somewhere?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just ridiculous. Like, they just want their 2 cents and to make me look bad, you know, and it's like they don't even know the whole story. I mean, Sam Stout bought me a drink after the fights, you know. It's like, ooh, big deal. And yeah, I did just get done having a war with Sam Stout. So yeah, the shot didn't take well. But I mean, I didn't like puke all over the place or something. Like, I didn't like make some big scene. It's like I spit the shot in the garbage. Ooh, big deal. Like, they're acting like I'm like some devil, you know. It's like these people just they just want a story, you know. I mean, same with the people who like made that stuff up about me hitting a girl. It's like, I ain't never hit a girl in my life. Like, what happened was this girl supposedly got hit, and my 2 friends beat the 2 guys up who supposedly hit her. Like, and then all of a sudden I'm the bad guy.
Well, Mike, maybe you can, Mike, maybe you can talk a bit about this, because you did touch on this topic before about how obviously the news is generated with the MMA media, and I'm sure just with media period, but it is very drama driven, and you're going to give priority and try to twist stories around for salacious headlines and fascinating stuff.
Well, that's what it is, man. And the reason why I walked away was because that's all the places that are the main sites. I'm not saying all the news sites, but a lot of the better paying sites and a lot of the bigger sites, they're based on Google traffic. So the same algorithms that are being used to decide, you know, who's a popular fighter, those are the same ones that Reebok's using. Those are the same ones that the UFC is using. Those are the same ones that Google's using. That's how they base what's popular. But we're basically tailoring the news to what these popular stories are. So, you know, I don't think I've worked places where it's newsworthy isn't really newsworthy because you're putting what will draw eyes into the site. So this story here, I was on social media kind of disgusted that nobody's writing about it, but everybody, you know, wrote about Cody's shorts with the tag on them, which even that story was just because he said it didn't have any sponsors, you know. That's the problem.
Right.
Nobody's looking out for guys like Cody because there's no union. You know, if we had a writers union, stories like that would never make it to print because people are writing based on perception of a tweet, based on somebody else's, you know what I mean? Like it's like you've listened to a tape recording, recorded off the TV through a telephone. We can't base stories on stuff like that. So I that's why when this is going on, and I talked to Cody for the first time at depth, and I realized, you know, he's a normal guy. He's not this bad guy that everybody paints him to be. And when nobody reported on it, it's like, you know what? I think we have a real problem here where people are turning a blind eye to things because of perception. But you know what? My first perception of Cody was when I saw him in The Ultimate Fighter. So I don't know, you know, is it spite?
Oh, I think you're cutting off there, Mike. Okay.
UFC's who's to blame here?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a lot to swallow.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. 100%. You know, I mean, it's like I get this terrible name, and it's like I don't do anything that bad. You know, like it's like all I do is train my ass off and try to work jobs and like get by in life. You know, and all of a sudden I'm some jerk. You know, and certain people appreciate me, you know, because they see the truth, like Mike. But I mean, then you got these other reporters like Ariel, and you got Karen Bryant, and you got these reporters who, I mean, they're just trying to sell their stories. I mean, they don't care what they say or what they do. They just want drama, you know,
Right.
and it's becoming fake, you know. I mean, the best fighters aren't in the UFC anymore. The best fighters are all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some of the best fighters in the UFC, you know, but there's also some terrible fighters in the UFC
Mm-hmm.
who have no right to be there, but they're there because they draw fans, you know.
Right.
And it's just becoming fake, you know, and I wish the fans would open their eyes a bit to it and see how it's going. Like the shorts thing, you know, it's like, yeah, I wore those to make a point, you know, like, hey, look, I got to wear damn basketball shorts because I ain't got no money.
Right.
This is my, 8th fight in the UFC, and I don't have a penny to my name. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is quite a statement, man. Absolutely.
World-class guy, you know.
Yeah. What? Tell me, Cody. So back to the fight. After this headbutt happened and the referee, put a stop to the fight. What were you told inside the cage at that time?
Inside the cage, the ref was acting like he was going to try to make it a no contest. Really, he was like, I was like, dude, he pulled my hair and like it's headbutting me. What do you want me to do? Mm-hmm. Fuck. And they're like, he's like, I'll see what I can do. Yeah, it should be a no contest. And then he comes back and just says, oh, sorry, man. Yeah, it's not no contest. He wins. I'm like, what?
Wow.
How did he win? He's laying on the ground, kicking his legs, faking an injury. Like, let's watch the fight again. You know, let's look at his face 2 days after the fight. Like, it's fine. Like, he doesn't have a mark on him. Like, he didn't have a mark in the cage. You can watch it on videos. I mean, how many fights have we seen where both of his eyes are swollen shut, and he's just like going, you know?
Right.
Like, it's like this guy got maybe a tiny smudge of darkness on his eye. You know, like maybe it bruised a tiny bit, but I don't even think it did that. Like, and he walked by my dressing room after and was still crying about it, and he didn't have a mark on him. I'm like, I mean, literally, he was in the cage. Like, they're like, can you see? He's like, I can't see, and both of his eyes are closed. It's like, yeah, you can't see because you have your eyes closed, man. Like, open your eyes and you can see. Like, that's how life works.
Have you had any contact with him since that night?
No, I'm sure I did if I would have like a Facebook and a Twitter, because I heard he just loves that, you know. But no, I don't do any of that. I don't do that stuff. So, I mean, I can't stand all that social networking. I mean, that's what it started coming down to in the UFC too. Like, oh, you have 100,000 followers. Oh, we'll fight you every week. Oh, you have 15,000 followers. Yeah, we might fight you once in a while on the undercards, you know.
Right.
Like, if you have enough fans, you can get the fights. But if you don't have the fans, it's hard to get a fight in the UFC, you know. Like, they don't. I mean, even if you are one of the best guys in the world, I mean, I know so many guys who are top in the world who can beat the champ at any given time at any weight class, but you'll never see him in there, you know.
Right.
Like,
right.
The world's a big place.
Absolutely.
And UFC is supposed to be the world champ. It's like, how can you say he's the world champ until he fights this guy over here, you know? Like, to me, it's just a big Hollywood show anymore.
With your suspension from the Edmonton Combative Sports Commission, how were you notified of that ruling, or were you given an opportunity to attend a hearing or anything like that?
Oh, they did the exact same thing the UFC did to me when they fired me. The commission did not hit me up. They would not. I mean, I was like running around the show asking, like, who do I talk to find out if I'm suspended, because I can't be suspended. I have bills due. I mean, I just lost. I mean, I cannot get suspended. Mm-hmm. So I was going to try to argue the point and give my 2 cents, you know, how he was dirty shotting me, but nobody wanted to hear it. So then I finally called the commission like 3 days later after I get back to my town, and they're like, oh, and this Pat Reid guy acted like he didn't know who I was. I'm like, hi, my name. I didn't know who Pat Reid was at the time. I know a lot more about him now because I studied him and found out stuff about him, which none of it's good for my case, you know. But, yeah, so I call him, and he's like, oh, well, I'll have to look into it. So then he won't call me back. I keep calling him, and then finally I get an email that says, oh, yeah, you are suspended. So I'm like, well, what do I do? What do I do now? You know, like, I can't be suspended. I got bills. So he tells me to I have to come up to Edmonton. I'm like, dude, I can't just come up to Edmonton.
Right.
Like, I don't know what kind of fighters you know. Like, they must have trust funds or something, you know, but I got to work every day, you know. Like, Like I can't just make a weekend trip and fly up to Edmonton to do a fake meeting on a fake suspension.
Wow.
So
and so on that suspension. Oh, I'm okay. Yeah. Before we get to that part, but when they give you that letter, though, did it give you any type of an outline or reason as to why?
No. He just said, yeah,
like unsportsmanlike conduct, or yeah. Did it actually say it, or?
I can't remember exactly what it said. I mean, they actually sent a bunch of legal stuff, like 9 pages of like legal jumble that I don't understand one bit. You know, like I mean, it's ridiculous to even send that. It's like, man, you just say yes or no.
Right.
Like, I don't need 9 pages of legal BS. You know, like it's just dumb. It's like, man, this is so dumb. Like just tell me, like, and answer my phone calls. What really made me mad. I mean, one day I called him probably 9 times and left like 3 messages. I mean, if you're a commissioner, it's your job to figure this out, you know, with me. Like, if I really did commit such a bad foul, like, we'll figure it out, you know. Man, maybe you'll show me your point of view, because I get it. I mean, I shouldn't have headbutted him for sure. I understand that. Like, I know it wasn't right. Like, I definitely shouldn't have headbutted him, but I did what I needed to do. And when I'm getting dirty shotted and it's becoming a street fight and all these words were said and it's a real fight, I mean, I'm not going to go out like a punk, you know. I'm not going to end up catching something hard. And at the end, I mean, he was laying on the ground crying, and I was celebrating.
Right.
I was celebrating my win. I felt like I won. I mean, he lost. That's the bottom line. Like, but make it a no contest, you know, because he was dirty shotting me. I would 100% understand if I just hauled off and threw a headbutt. DQ me, suspend me. I get it. You can't headbutt people. But when you're getting headbutted and you're getting your hair pulled, and it's all on camera, it's like, where's the justice, you know?
Mm-hmm. And have you filed an appeal for this?
Yeah, I filed an appeal. I took every step that I could to go through everything. But I mean, they just sent me 10 more pages of legal stuff on why or how the appeal didn't matter. Like, I mean, they didn't care about my appeal one bit. I wrote a nice letter. I mean, it took me probably 4 hours to write the letter, right? Mm-hmm. I took my time, used proper English, and proper punctuation. I tried not to be the dumb fighter I am sometimes, you know, and it didn't go anywhere with them. They didn't care one bit, you know. They're just like, nope. And that's when I started looking into it more and finding out that this guy hates Americans, you know. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, so this whole thing was a hustle. And then I found out that him and McKenzie are buddies. And I found out that the ref and McKenzie are buddies. And I start finding all this stuff out, and it's like, man, I'm up there by myself just getting taken advantage by these guys, you know. I'm like, where's right and wrong? It's just terrible to me, you know. Mm-hmm. But and like that's why like help me out, you know. It's like, man, so one guy cares, you know, but none of these other reporters, I mean, they don't. They're like, oh, Cody's always wrong, you know. Like, unless it's a story about me fucking up, they don't want to write it, you know.
Right.
And it sucks.
Yeah, Mike, maybe you can talk about the appeal process. Did you ask Pat Reid about that?
Yeah, you know what? Technically, it was a letter, so it wasn't really an appeal. It was Cody doing what we do. If I did something wrong to you, I'd write you that I'm sorry and admit what I did. So Cody was being honest. He told them about his monetary issues that he was having, mm-hmm. and all they did was they wrote everything off as being irrelevant to his appeal. Well, the thing is, when they did the hearing, they never asked him why he did it. They never asked him if he did it. They never went through any real process. Mm-hmm. Other commissions that I've talked to, and I've talked to several different from the U.S. and Canada, they've told me that typically what they do is they'd wait a week and then investigate and go to all parties and ask their sides of the story like it was a court case. That was never done.
Right.
So, to me, that's when things started looking like it was a setup to me. I started digging into it, and as I found more and more and more, I was letting Cody know along the way, and he was just like, he just couldn't believe it. It's one of those things that, everybody seems to take advantage of him, but now that the refs are doing it, it's really, or not the refs, all the officials and a commission are in it together. That's pretty scary that that's happening right now. So I'm kind of surprised that nobody really is reporting on it.
One of the interesting quotes.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I'm sorry. One of the interesting quotes here with your conversation with Mr. Reid says we have a technical committee that involves all of the referees. It involves all of the judges and any other people who were pulled together, and it was unanimous that we suspend McKenzie. Some of them wanted him fined. But I didn't think that was right, he pointed out. He's going to miss a fight probably here or there somewhere. He's lucky he only got 3 months. Originally, they wanted 6. Mike, did they ever tell you who were the people involved in the decision-making process?
No, and I asked. As soon as he told me this list, hello?
Yeah, no, yeah, you cut off there for a second.
Yeah, no problem. I asked him point blank as soon as he told me that there was a committee. I said, well, can I get a list of everybody that was on the committee? And he just said, no, he said they don't want to be identified. And he said because it's a volunteer position, non-paid position, he doesn't have to. So, again, it just felt like he was using all of his political experience and knowledge and little things he mentioned throughout our conversation about how rules can be interpreted different ways. It's like he knows every loophole of everything that he's doing. But you know what? With evidence like this, I don't think it's something that he can refute. But it's sad because I think that there's more to it now. Even the Facebook page that I sent you, Jake, shows that the guy that's investigating that sent Cody a message yesterday in response to his threat for legal action. He said that basically is kind of dismissing the claims and said he'll look into them. But he's the one looking into it, and he's friends with Pat Reid on Facebook. He posted happy birthday to him last week. So there's lots of corruption, I think. So I forwarded those claims as well up to his boss to see how they deal with it. So the only way to hold these people accountable is to actually make it public. And I think that's one of the reasons why reporters need to maybe even mention it somehow, because they can sweep it under the rug if it's just one small website writing about it. So I think interviews like this might help Cody's case. Now, again, he admits he did something wrong. There's never been a precedent set, I think, that there's been anybody that's had an intentional headbutt that either in boxing or MMA that I've been able to find. Cody said his camp's been looking, and we haven't been able to find it. So when I asked Pat Reid that, he said, I don't think we should have to follow precedent, that each case is on a case-by-case basis. And that's why he was saying that he'd dismiss if the ABC got involved.
Pretty powerful stuff, man.
Yeah,
lots of
layers to the onion.
Cody, where do we go from here? I know that you were scheduled to fight in Red Deer this past weekend, or I think it was this past weekend, or maybe
coming this Friday.
Coming this Friday, sorry. And obviously you're still under suspension, so you missed out on that purse. What happens next?
Yeah, I missed out on that purse, and then I also found myself a fight in New Jersey, thinking that I wouldn't be suspended all the way in New Jersey. And I found out I was suspended all the way over there. I was like, what? Like, wow. When it first happened, I was like, oh, I'm probably just suspended in Canada or Edmonton, which sucks because I was fighting there soon. But right now I have a fight lined up May 8th, but my suspension isn't up until May 12th. So that'll be the third fight that they're holding me back from if it doesn't go through.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. There was another suspension, actually. Tim Hague had I don't know if it was a medical suspension or a regular suspension. He's an Edmonton guy that just won one of those awards last week or a couple weeks ago. And nothing against Tim, but he had his suspension actually shortened so he could take a fight by the Edmonton Commission. So, there's a precedent there. You should be able to apply and get treatment at least.
Do you think that you're going to get that?
I mean, I felt like none of them were even listening to me, I mean, and I've never broken rules in a fight, I haven't. I've had lots of fights, 35 fights. I mean, this whole thing that, I'm some jerk and stuff, it's like I don't even know where it comes from. I mean, I've never failed a P test. I've taken tons of P tests, never failed a P test. I mean, this reputation just got out, and I think it's just because I look different. I'm not built like a normal fighter. So people like to assume, they like to think that I'm just this freaking lazy guy who just doesn't do anything. It's like, no, I just built different, but yeah, so I don't really get where it's all coming from. But I mean, I completely feel that I wasn't completely in the wrong throwing that. But I mean, I know it was wrong, but I don't feel I was completely in the wrong. I feel like this guy needs to take. I mean, he was just a poor sport the entire time. Took my mouthpiece and huffed it into the crowd after the fight. And actually, one of his teammates went and picked it up and brought it back to us. I mean, because even his own teammate realized how wrong it all was. What was going on. I mean, I heard that one of the guys who voted on my suspension was the guy who pushed me backstage. I'm like, well, of course that guy's not going to like me. He's already trying to fight me backstage. Like,
wow.
So I don't have any chance of winning any of this. It's like, and not every, and I love Canadians. I've done lots of fighting in Canada. My first Muay Thai coach was Canadian. I mean, I spent lots and lots of time up there and love it. I mean, the Canadian fans have always treated me amazing. I have nothing against Canadian. I love the people. Like, I love you Canadians, like, like truth. But, and then a lot of these guys from this different team called Hayabusa, where McKenzie and all these guys who were harassing me.
No, that's not them. Hayabusa's Luke's team that helped you out with Orange.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. These guys from Hayabusa, they helped me out a lot. They were great. Luke and his whole team, they all had my back, and I mean, I went to dinner with them and we all talked. I learned a lot about McKenzie and his team, like how they all beg for money on the internet, trying to get money for, like, they call it support a fighter, like and these guys who I was eating dinner with had the same point of view of me. We don't do that, I mean, I don't ask people for money. I don't take any handouts. I mean, ever in my life have I, and I never will. Everything I earn, I've earned with my two hands,
Right.
And so we're just a different breed of people, like McKenzie and this Shelton guy and myself, like they were making fun of me at the weigh-ins. They were like, go back to fishing. And I was like, I am going to go back to fishing. Like, commercial fishing is a great lucrative gig. Like that's hard work, and I feed a lot of people. Like, that's not even an insult to me. Like, they were trying to insult me saying, go back to fishing. Like, it was some terrible thing. Like, oh yeah, sorry, I commercial fish and feed tons of people. I mean, we catch 100,000 pounds in a set. I mean, that does a lot of work right there, and then
Absolutely.
that gets shipped out all over the world. And I mean, we do that for 3 months straight and catch tons and tons of fish. And it's like, and I'm proud of it, I'm proud of what I do up there. Like, I don't even see where the insult was coming from, but they're just kids, I mean, I really feel that. They might even be older than me, but they're still just kids. Like, I mean, anybody who's going to beg for money and support a fighter, help me out, like I don't like that, and that's also why I never did good with sponsors, because I have my own manager, and I don't run around and ask people for free stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So it always was hard for me to find sponsors, especially with the UFC always having such a tight hold on it, So I always just got by, I fought, but I guess I didn't play the game right, but at the same time, I'm still here, and I'm still training harder than ever. Actually, now I feel amazing. I mean, I feel great. I feel completely remotivated. I'm excited to go out there and do this fight. So if my suspension doesn't get lifted on by May 8th, then I'll be fighting them either June 5th or June 15th, depending on when they decide to book the show. So, I mean, I am going to fight Ryan Mission, and I'm excited to do so. I mean, he's one of Canada's top fighters, and that's what everybody's been telling me. And I watched some video on him, and yeah, I'm definitely looking to go in there and fight.
That'd be excellent, man. Well, I wish you nothing but continued success, and I'm sorry you had that experience in Edmonton. A lot of the stuff that Mike has been bringing to light is is some pretty damaging stuff, and I think if anything, they've put themselves in a situation where that even at the least amount of possible corruption, even if they didn't have their hands in so many bad areas, they've set themselves up to make it look like this, with everyone knowing each other, everybody being friends with each other. I think they've put themselves in a very, very bad spot. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I have nothing against Edmonton. I loved Edmonton. I had a great visit there. I had a lot of real good friends who we still talk on the phone, and they're cool guys. Mm-hmm. But definitely some things need to change with the commission and with everything. And it's not just that commission, I mean, to me, commissions all over are really messing up the game. When I fought in New Jersey, I had to pay $4,000 in medicals just to get to the fight, It's
wow.
like, how am I supposed to make a living when all my money is going on to medicals? Like, why aren't these promotions paying for medicals? They're the ones who want us to come up and put on a show for them and make them all the money,
Right.
And it seems like everybody's getting paid except for the athletes. And I've always fought for that, and a lot of fighters respect me for it, because I did, even when I was in the UFC, I spoke my 2 cents. I let people know that I didn't think it was fair how we all get treated. And I mean, if you're fighting in a top org in the world, you should at least be getting $100,000 salary a year. I mean, all my friends who mine and fish and stuff like that, they make a lot more than I do, and I'm fighting the best guys in the world, you know.
Right.
It's a lot tougher gig.
Yeah, well, certainly something needs to change there.
Change, and I hope Edmonton definitely gets their commission looked at. You know, I mean, that's the overall point of me fighting this still right now. You know, I'm still trying to get them suspended. The point is, I really feel like I was mistreated, and it's wrong. You know, I mean, a guy who obviously doesn't like Americans shouldn't be in charge of a commission where he's the boss of the rules, you know. And it's it's too bad. It really is. Definitely.
Well, again, Cody, I wish you nothing but success, and you know, of course, I'm always a big fan of watching you fight, and have been a fan of you for a very, very long time. So I hope to see you compete again soon.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. Good looking out, and I'll stay in touch, and hopefully we can get the word out on this story and get these guys to overturn this so I can get back to work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to the follow up, and by all means, let's keep in touch, and we'll talk to you real soon, Cody. Thanks again for joining us.
See you, Cody.
Cool, guys.
Bye-bye.
God bless. Later.
Wow, man, that's some interesting stuff.
Yeah, I told you, man. When I was trying to get in touch with Cody on the weekend, he didn't reply to me for a while, and I was just like, well, whatever. It was because he was at church.
Right.
You know, people don't realize he's a normal guy, and it's bad because, you know what? I believed everything I read about him at first because I didn't know any better. You know, it's sad because that's the power of the media.
Yeah, oh man, it is ever. And just to see, I mean, like when you said that, hey man, Google his name, see what happens. And sure enough, I did. And it was story after story about, you know, problems with the UFC and you know, reporters writing all this stuff about him. And I'm not by any means trying to make him out to be a victim or I'm not, you know, trying to give him any type of a slip here. But this isn't about him and Andrew McKenzie. This is about the way a commission has kind of set themselves up in this situation where they're very, you know, they're buried in very, very deep like a tick, and they're very, very comfortable. And then, you know, you have a situation like this happen. And again, it could have been any situation. It could have been, you know, kicking the balls 3 times or whatever, and they still would have had to invest. Or 5 apparently, 5 apparently to Mr. Reid. But you go anywhere. You go on the top of May news forums. You go on, you know, other websites. You do all these types of things, and you see a lot of people make these snide, kind of backhanded comments towards Pat Reid, and I used to just kind of slough him off because I was like, well, I don't really know what this guy's all about. Yeah, but you just kind of trust that these people that are in these situations are put there because they got the right experience or they have the right credentials.
Not with Pat Reid, apparently. Not from what I've been told. You know, he's what's been known as, well, they said that he was a professional fundraiser, but he's a wine and diner, basically. He's the guy that, for the Olympic committee back, you know,
right.
He was part of one of the Olympic bid committees for a city. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that would take all the politicians for dinner. You know, like
kind of sweet talk him a bit. Yeah.
He was the guy that did the Yashin deal. So that explains the type of guy. If you're waiting for somebody in a parking lot to sign a deal with them, that's probably a deal you want to walk away from.
Right. Right. Yeah, that doesn't look very business professional.
Come here, I'll write you up a will in my van. You don't go to a lawyer in an alley to do something on the up and up.
Oh man, that's great. Hey, Mike, thanks for talking about this, and I'm looking forward to talking to you next week. This is going to be a continued thing. I mean, there's this story. This is like a developing story. This isn't just a one and done. I mean, you released basically 10 minutes of almost an hour conversation. Well,
you know what, too? Like, I think with conversations like this, I think we'll open up dialogue about other issues that are happening. I'm hoping, you know, I can be a person that can kind of show both sides of every story that people are reporting on, because there's way more to the story. And that's kind of, you know, this kind of prompted me to start my website. That's why I launched my website with the story, because I just felt like there just wasn't enough people that were honestly reporting on things.
Right. Yeah, and that's true, man. That is true. There's, you know, you get a lot of stories out that are just kind of these fluff, you know, fluff pieces and stuff that's just kind of salacious
TMZ,
headlines. Man. And it's very Perez Hilton. It's very TMZ. It kind of makes me, worried a bit, but, hey, the man is Mike Russell. You can check him out on Twitter at Mike Russell MMA. We'll have the links up on our site. Of course, go check out his website. It is a very, very fascinating one. It's RealFightStories.com. And this is going to be a developing thing, man. I'm really looking forward to talking more about this. And like you said, Mike, it's not just about these two guys. It's about an organization that Edmonton is a very big hotbed for MMA, and it's a huge city that's on the map for a lot of promotions. So, the last thing you want to do is have a commission that's representing the sport in a major city like that and have them be questioned for their behavior and their business practices. Not good.
No, especially when he's looking at that he wants to be the head of the Canadian National Federation, makes it to supersede the ABC. That scares me.
This is like, I'm just thinking of like Dr. Evil. I'm picturing, you know what I mean? Like he's got Mr. Bigglesworth in the den and he's, yeah.
Well, and you never know with all these commissioners and politicians, all these people that he has, at the city level, you never know how many of those people he's promised a role on this commission when he starts it. So, or federation when he starts it. So who knows why people are covering for him? There's definitely somebody covering for him. And even when I pointed it out, it's like nobody at the city wants to listen.
Interesting stuff, fascinating stuff. Again, Mike Russell, my guest, and we will have him on again next week. We'll talk more about this developing story. In the meantime, like I said, check him out, RealFightStories.com. Some fascinating stuff. And hey, Mike, thanks for doing this, brother.
Anytime, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
Cover much ground, got game by the town. Getting paid is a forte each and every day.